Now we are.
We are now.
All right, 6 o'clock. We are starting our finance committee meeting,
Me?
and we are
No,
all
I just,
here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was ready to say, are you
I
okay?
saw wrong, and she didn't know Heimlich, and I'm over here coughing, so we're gonna
Just
teach
bend
you.
over,
Right.
jump on you or push you or something.
Just let me die.
No.
We wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, no comments from the public, and we don't have any old business. So get into the February bills. Anybody have questions on anything? Fire away.
No, I really don't.
No, I didn't. Everything looked all right.
Okay. I'm okay with the impress and deposits as well.
Yep.
We had no over 5,000. CDS payables. No, we have to get this out. Bear with me while I catch up here.
I got a question for you, Tom. Not on the career development, but just wanted to ask you something.
Sure.
Just let me know when you're ready to move on to something.
Yeah, let me
or
just
whatever.
get us
Sure.
acquainted here. Almost there. Okay, so here's CDS. We're okay with the CDS?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you if you could arrange, or if we could discuss arranging Joe McDonald to come in
Sure.
and kind of explain. I mean, we do have new people now. You know, I've never heard him in open session
Well,
or anything like
he
that.
he is on the agenda for the February board meeting.
Oh, is
So yeah, I will have him give a little background as well.
he? Maybe you know what it is he does, his
Yeah.
function. You guys would be really.
This is the trust.
Yeah.
This is the township treasurer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do think that everybody should know exactly what he does, and you know, I was just wondering because I've never heard him talk since I've been here.
Yeah, no, he's
You know what I mean?
scheduled for next Tuesday to be at the board
Did
meeting.
you really?
Yeah.
What is he coming for though?
He comes and he will give his annual investment report to let us know, and he'll give some background on his office as well.
And what it exactly?
What he does and
Yeah.
what his responsibilities are.
awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
so
Okay.
so that
And you guys will like him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. You know.
yeah, Joe's done a great job for us.
Yeah, it's right over at Tinley High School.
Yeah.
That
Their office,
yes.
right? In
It
the
is,
back half
right.
of
Yeah.
It's one of our
auto shop, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
our
The lease.
agenda items.
The lease item.
Right.
I think, isn't there like a plaque or something on the school too that says treasurers or?
There is,
Yeah,
notification, so you know that it's there. There's,
Okay.
Right? There's a sign when you're coming in. Okay, it's only
There-
been like
it-
12 years now. And I'm like,
Yeah, well, the
Make sure
other
that
No one pays attention to it unless
No.
you're
the
looking
funny
for
thing is,
it.
I remember Elisa recently asking me about it. I'm like, I have no idea why that's there. Well, now I do.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was scheduled for the meeting.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah, we talked about that because
I know,
Vibes
he-
going on.
he didn't come now. It's probably been
I haven't
I
seen
don't know,
him in
yeah.
3 years since I've been here. I
Okay.
mean, I met him at his office, said
Yeah.
hello and all that
yeah, but he
stuff.
typically comes out annually to present
Yeah.
the investment report. So he'll get a copy of that, Tuesday night, and I'll make sure that he gives some background on what services he provides, not only for our
Great.
district but for all the districts.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? Since it's going to be on TV or it's going to be taped, I think that would be good for the community.
Sure.
To know what's going on
Sure.
with him.
Oh yeah,
and-
absolutely. No, that's a
you
good
know
point.
what I mean?
Yep.
Because he does such a good job
Yeah.
You didn't
earning
even
us
know
money.
that was there. So
know?
now
No, he
people
does,
know.
and he'll demonstrate and illustrate that
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
So
Yeah. Good.
that'll be good.
Be excited for that.
Okay, next item is PAP Consulting. We talked last meeting about PAP Consulting, and maybe I need to give a little bit more background for you there. PAP Consulting handles our recalculation of general state aid. They have handled it, let's say. And they've been doing it probably, they ended in '07. I cut them off in '07, but prior to that, they had been doing it for about 15 years. Not only with our district, but they probably had over 100 other districts that they also worked with. And basically what they would do is do the filings for the district to recapture any tax filings that were not part of state aid from the year prior. And what the state would do then when they recalculate the general state aid after the filings are all submitted is they would then pay out those additional dollars to districts annually. Now, they would pay them out at a prorated basis because they never had enough money in the pot to fully pay everyone out. So the arrangement with PAP was that whatever we would get, they would get 15% of that. And that was the same arrangement, standard contract that they had with all the districts. Well, as I mentioned in the last committee meeting, what we determined, we being myself and my colleagues, through some research and investigation, was we figured out the process that PAP was using to get these filings for the district. And then people started utilizing other means other than PAP because it was more cost effective for them.
They were essentially cutting the middleman out.
They're cutting in the middleman out to some extent. We have utilized our attorneys to file on our behalf for us. It's about a 10 hours worth of work that we would pay our attorneys for, so roughly $220,000 or $2,200 that we pay our attorneys versus what we were paying PAP, which was 15%, which ranged anywhere, depending on the year and what the payout was for that year, it ranged anywhere from $18,000 to $27,000, $28,000. So to get the same service, again, after I realized what was going on and how this whole process worked, we discontinued our contract, our relationship with PAP. So in PAP's contract, they have a piece in there that claims that they're entitled to that monies up through until all the claims have been paid. So if you're familiar with accounting, there's like a FIFO, LIFO, first in, first out, or last in, first out. They operate on the first in, first out basis, meaning the dollars that were in there that were attributed to their filings, they're entitled to. So as future monies come through to the district,
You owe them.
we still owe them for their back filings.
Correct.
So as I researched this, and I've gone back and forth with the gentleman that owns this company in a number of times, and we've spent a lot of different dialogue. What we did last month in the billings, and Kim, you had asked a good question about that, was what was that for? We had paid them the 2 prior years worth of filings. And because I had put it on hold because I was trying to negotiate a settlement with PAP to address this. In total, they claimed that we owed them $215,000 attested to their filings, which I would agree with. So I was trying to negotiate a settlement with them. I put the filing payments on hold, and then finally I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do, we were still in discussions, I'm going to pay you for the 2 prior years that we owed you. And then, as I was able to finalize a settlement and get him to come to agreement with what I wanted, I said, we'll pay you the remaining balance pending our finance committee and our board's approval. So we paid him $33,000 last month. The settlement in total is for $100,000. So that would mean that we would owe him the balance, that's $67,000 versus the $215,000, and we would pay that to him in a lump sum versus what I had arranged and said, we'll pay it to you, but it's going to take us 15 to 20 years to pay it out. So I finally got him to realize that, yeah, it was better to take the $67,000 now and cut ties and have his money, or continue to do it at a prorated basis in smaller chunks over the next number of years to get him to his total of $215,000.
Right, because that's what we talked about at the last meeting, and you kind
Correct.
of showed what the
And at the last meeting, we were still negotiating and more or less battling back and forth over this whole thing. But I was able to, through further discussion with him, get him to say, okay, you know what, this is the best route.
so he settled them for the less
so
amount, and we're just
Right,
gonna pay it.
my recommendation to the committee, and hopefully we recommend this to the board then, is to finalize one-time payment of $67,000 to PAP Consulting, and then that would sever all future commitments to any filings, regardless of what the state does with those adjusted general state aid payments moving forward. He would sign. Well, we could still owe him, but we're going to get him to sign a release saying that, in lieu of those, I've accepted $67,000 final payment, and the district is no longer responsible for those. So
What if we get nothing coming in the future from the state aid?
well, that's a good point. That's a risk, but even with that being the case, that's not something that's going to dry up in the next couple years. I mean, this has been ongoing for a number of years. They could prorate it down a little further so that we would be getting smaller increments. But and then we could just go back to paying in the 15%, and it would take X amount. But even then, if let's say after 5 years this dried up, we would have paid in the next 5 years more than the $67,000 payout that we're going to pay him out, based on historically what we've annually paid him. So, in my opinion, this is a definite win for the district in terms of just cutting ties and settling on this $67,000 final payment.
So how long is our relationship then with them, Tom? How far back do you go with it?
Well, like I said, prior to 2007, I think it went back about 15 years.
Okay.
And so when I took over, I think there were 3 contracts that I brought to the board, and the board extended each year. But then, like I said, during the process of that 3 years, as our group started doing more research and gaining understanding of his process and what was entailed with it, we said, okay, well, there's other avenues here. And he wasn't willing to adjust what his commission was. He was set on that 15% commission. So then that's where many other districts went other directions.
So how does he stay in business if
Well,
everybody knows now how he does his work?
He still has a number of districts that, like I said, he was doing this throughout the state.
Okay.
He's retired from a business manager's position.
So he knows.
So he knew the situation, and he has a number of districts that have retained him on, that they don't care. They have the money, and they don't. It's not an issue for them.
Okay.
But reviewing our situation and trying to hang on to every penny that we can, this is a situation where I said, well, this is a no-brainer to get the same service and pay $2,200 versus $18,000, $20,000, $24,000, depending on what the payout is that year. It's a no-brainer. So, like I said, since 2008 moving forward till now, we have not utilized his filings on behalf of the district.
Okay.
So this is just carryover stuff that's going on from him.
So how do we justify, where do we get the money from now to just pay this lump sum if we weren't budgeted for that large
For a
amount?
settlement.
Yeah, I mean, we have, good question. We have a consulting account. We may dip into the negatives at the end of the year, and we'll have to utilize some fund balance to cover, some of the difference. It's not going to be significant, but we may have to utilize $20,000 or so from fund balance to cover this, to offset this. But again, to me, it's well worth it to go that route than
Well, it'll
to
recoup over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
as we will be
exactly.
paying out.
right.
So that's what this is just recommending
This is the recommend to the board, and then I will draft a document, a closeout document that we'll have the board approve at next Tuesday's meeting.
and
if
the final
committee's-
settlement amount is,
Final settlement is $67,000 and
okay, I just want to make
change.
sure I
Yeah.
got the right number.
You'll have that in the board packet.
Okay.
But the last one was $33,000, now like $322 or something like that. So it's
When
whatever
was
the
that
balance
last
of.
one, Tom?
What's that?
You said the last one?
It was last month.
Last
It was
month.
last month.
I can't remember that.
Yeah.
Was
No,
I
you
here?
weren't.
You were not at the
You were
meeting,
not
yeah,
here.
you were not
Yeah.
at the meeting.
That was that big snow day that I think you were
Mhm.
working.
Yeah, I think you got called in to
Yeah.
plow, yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep. So,
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, I am drawing blanks here. You know, I have to what that.
Yeah, we had an in-depth conversation.
yeah, we did, we had a good
Yeah.
conversation. So if the committee's good with that, then we'll recommend that from committee to the full board for that.
I am good with that.
Good.
Kind of months just fly, you know? Unbelievable.
This
Jump.
was January.
I know, just jump documents on me. That's interesting. How did you do that?
I know,
Yeah.
that's taking at least 6.
Sorry about that.
That was interesting.
That was interesting. I hit the click button because the mouse wasn't responding. And totally. Let's try that one again. Back to February.
You know what I forgot to ask last night was how are the what is that program that we approved, education?
Decision Ed.
Decision Ed.
Yeah, do you know anything? I should have asked Corey
Yeah.
last night. What's up?
I know they're working on the implementation of setting everything up
Okay.
and getting all the data aligned so that we can start utilizing it.
Okay.
I'm not up to date on where that process is at.
Okay.
I know they were doing that, pulling all the data from our different systems.
Okay.
Um,
Would you mind jotting that
yeah,
down
sure.
as a note, just to maybe mention it, Corey? And that's
Yeah.
my fault. I should have asked her last night.
No,
I had
no
a great
problem.
Opportunity, maybe in that she can address it in open session
Sure.
or something like that.
Yeah, give everyone an update, but we've been so focused with the Danielson stuff that we haven't talked about anything else,
Yeah.
and the last 3 meetings have been 2 hours each, Danielson.
So yesterday was a short one, huh? And that was what, hour and a
An
half?
hour and a half, yes, that was short.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So you were here from 5:30 till,
Yeah.
8:45.
Yeah.
So I included the information in here from Mr. McDonald regarding our office lease. We're looking to extend the lease with the treasurer's office for an additional 5 years through June 30th of 2021. The lease expires this June 30th. And I'm sure you guys were able to read, he's got the agreement in here, what the rent would look like, the monthly rent, and insurance components. And
Hey,
that.
can you go back down so
Yeah,
I can see that real
absolutely,
quick?
sure.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Right there. Yeah. Let's see something
so
there.
the
That,
And the rent is, the increases are tied to the CPI index, and he outlined that in here as well for us. The realities of this are we generate some revenue for this monthly rent, but if we wanted to be sticklers about, trying to gouge them for higher rent, it only backfires on us anyways, because the expenses for the treasurer's office are paid by
Yeah,
the districts.
it would be-
So 45% of the treasurer's office's
yes.
expenses come back to our district, because that's how it is set up by the school code. So, we'd only be shooting ourselves in the foot, as far as that goes. This is not absorbent in terms of what we're getting rent-wise, but it's reasonable. And
Well, if he was sitting in a strip mall somewhere, we would get nothing back. So
well,
that's
that's exactly it. I mean, the worst case scenario is we try to gouge them and they go
we don't,
to an office space where it's less, and
we don't recoup it.
no, we don't get anything at all,
Right.
and it would probably could cost us more. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely good with that.
they've been there. I should have asked the question, but the treasurer's office has been there for the 25 years that I've been in the district. So I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Over right there?
Tinley?
No,
Tin-
that's, are you sure on that, Tom?
Well, no,
Because they redid that auto shop.
they've been there for 15 years, let me say
Okay.
that, for 15 years,
Yeah.
that I've been in
Been a
administration.
while, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good deal right there.
I'll have to look that up though, when did they first move in there?
I
So-
mean, compared to what we had coming in before, Joe took over. How about it, Tom? I mean, the investments that have been made. I mean,
Oh,
our
it-
money was asleep.
Well, and you'll see,
Yeah.
even in these difficult market times,
Yeah.
with the crash and everything, Joe has still outperformed the other indexes,
Mhm.
like indexes, and he'll show that to you. And I'll have him, share with you a couple slides of how much interest earnings that his efforts have generated for our district over the course of the years. And it's been significant. So we've been very fortunate as far as that goes. So everybody's good with the treasurer's lease? The next item on here, this came out of our IMRF audit. And this is something that the auditor is looking to see. I don't know if this was done prior to me or not, and it just fell off, or what the case is, but it's basically just a formality in terms of the IRS code and how the reportable earnings go to IMRF, and that we don't include those paid under the IRS code. So essentially what it means in layman's terms is, in order to continue doing what we're doing with our IMRF funding and the way that we submit the funds to the IMRF, the board needs to sign this resolution saying the board is okay with the operations and the process of what we're doing.
You gotta fix Kim's
Yeah, my
last
name is spelled wrong. I meant to email you about that, but.
Oh,
Sorry. Was that the reference the other night? That you
okay.
Oh, no, I think
when I
last month the
spelled your name
resolution was it, everybody spells it with a
Okay.
C. I think where we go. You think camp and that's what you
Camp
think,
work,
camp.
Yeah.
And an O, usually.
I
C-
apologize
and-
for
oh,
that.
Yeah.
You get
I can see
teased
that.
when you're little. Can.
That wasn't my name when I was.
Oh, that's
oh,
right.
that's true.
Yeah.
I was Cannonball, so.
I'll stick with camp work.
Yeah, stick with camp. I'm going to camp.
I was Mick Ivers, so
MacGyver.
that's what everybody put
Oh,
a
yeah.
Mick on our Ivers
I
name.
So I will certainly change that, but
Yeah.
everybody okay with this? Again, it's more of a formality, so that we are in compliance with IMRF and their audit. Then the last item I have is the busing renewal. I've negotiated with Illinois School Bus and Alpha Company renewal for the upcoming year. The renewal is at a 0.8% increase for next year, which is significantly on the low side in comparison to what we've seen. It's right in line with CPI, and that's what I utilized to negotiate that. They wanted one a lot higher, but I was able to get them for a
What
one-year
were they
extension. This is where we're at.
What were they at? What-
They wanted on the special ed side, they wanted, I think, 2.25, I want to say. Yeah, so I got them to bring that one down. And the regular ed side, I think they started at 1.5. And so I was able to get them both down to a 0.8, which is CPI. So, that's...
You've had a long relationship with them, and it's been good, right?
We absolutely have,
Yeah.
and busing is one of those things where it can be an absolute nightmare.
Yep.
Orland 135,
Mhm.
they bid their busing, and some
It's a
company
nightmare
came
this
in and they
year, yeah.
low bid it,
Yep.
and it was an absolute nightmare. I mean, it took them 3 months to clean it up. And Illinois and Alpha actually did come in and take over a number of their runs to
Right.
assist, because they had it prior to this company.
Mhm, mhm.
And so, they're rebidding that one now, but that can happen. And so, this is one of those things where, in my opinion, in my experience, what I've seen is if you have a company that's delivering for you, and you have a good relationship and everything's working and they're not trying to gouge you by making money off you, it's best to keep what you have in place. Because, again, when you bid that out, the law states you have to go with the low reputable bidder. And if you don't really know that bidder and who they are, then you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. There's nothing that causes more problems than parents who are irate over the transportation of their students. You know, the bus isn't there on time, the bus didn't pick my kid up at all, the bus dropped my kid off 2 miles at the wrong stop, you know, whatever the case may be. Those ongoing headaches are not ones that I know I want to deal with, and I know you guys don't want to hear about those from parents or community members either.
No.
So, you know, I definitely recommend this 1-year extension.
You know,
with them.
they've done such a good job since I can remember. I mean, how about it?
Yeah.
For sports, they're there. They're generally on the
Now, these guys I do know have been in my 25-year career, because I've been riding the bus when I first started coaching back 25 years ago. And you were probably a student. Yeah.
Illinois has always delivered.
Well, and they're right here in the neighborhood. They're right down the street. You know, and I'm not going to say it's perfect. We do have issues, and every year we have a special ed meeting, because that's always a difficult time trying to schedule, because we get so many students added in at the very last minute, even after registration, that we're trying to coordinate and line up transportation for. And it's hard on their end too, you know, when we're throwing 5 new kids at them every day saying, "Here, get this kid picked up tomorrow," and they're going, "Whoa," you know. So we work through those. It takes a little bit of time, but they've always been very amenable to working with us, and overall they've done a good job.
Yeah.
So
you know what? And I mentioned this to Bill. Is there something? And I don't want to sound corny with this, but is there something or some way when you go back to them and say, "Hey, you know, the board is good with this, blah blah blah. We're going to go another year," to put in there, slow down. Ask their drivers to slow down.
And I have mentioned to our manager for our district. I've voiced that concern, and I did. And they said they would certainly put the word out to their drivers that there's been complaints and that they need to slow down.
Last night when I was coming here, we had the meeting at 5:30, and I was rushing because my train literally drops me off until me at 5:15. So to avoid the traffic on 159th, I jumped through 167th. Well, there was a bus coming out of Tinley Park, and it's like, you know, in front of me. And that strip after Central, it's like about 40 or 45. This bus was going 35, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm trying to get."
See, they got my message, Larry.
So they got your message, and that's why I was late yesterday, because that bus was just driving so slow.
And you know what? Recently, I have nothing to say as far as remembering any incident, but in the past, I mean, especially at the beginning of the year, I mean, they're flying around. Listen, they got an important cargo. And you know, it's not the end of the world if they get 5 minutes late to school.
No.
You know what I mean? It's,
no, you're absolutely right.
So I'm speaking more, I guess, as a parent on this one.
And that's one of those things too, where in the beginning of the year you have new drivers learning new routes and new stops, and so you know they're running late trying to get from one to another and figure it all out. So it takes a little time, but
those squawking kids on that bus.
Oh gosh.
I don't even like it in my car.
Man,
I
know.
stop sign with the kids.
They don't pay them enough, those bus drivers. They really don't.
Jeez Louise.
No, that's the only complaint I have. I mean, as far as, and it ain't even really a complaint. I've been very happy with Illinois. You know, they've been good.
Okay, well, that being the case, I don't have any other items for new business. Discussion items, the only thing that I'll share with you, and I have some unofficial news. Tomorrow they're supposed to make it official, but our QSCB grant, right
50?
now, we are slated for all $50 million. Wow. So there were over 200 districts in the state
the other day from Al, he was talking about.
that put in for this, and I believe there were 30 districts that were awarded the grant. and there are 4 districts that were awarded 50 million. We're the only one in Cook County that got 50 million. So,
isn't that wonderful?
you know, I'm very proud of that because we put a lot of work and effort into that application process to get us there. And I had a conference call with the rep from the state when they were trying to decide and determine.
Who if you don't mind asking?
If somebody from Illinois State Board of Education
okay.
who was on the application review process. I had to provide some rationale as to various things that we had in our application, and was able to get them to understand our rationale. And
on Monday, and I don't know if you picked up on it, we were with Al Riley on Monday,
Okay.
our state rep. And did you?
No, I guess I did.
Yeah, I knew Monday, but I didn't say anything because he knew. He told me
Yeah.
that you guys are looking really good. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
so
I didn't want to say nothing, man. I wasn't going to get in trouble.
yeah, no, and again, it's I want to wait till it's official. Tomorrow they are finalizing and voting this in, so you know we can
I'm glad
do
you
a little
brought it
more
up.
celebrating tomorrow. But
Sure.
I wanted to share
I
that
was
with the
gonna
committee.
ask
So
I
you
got a
because I
question
was-
on that.
I
Yeah.
heard that another district got the thumbs down
Mhm.
on 46.
yeah, I got some jealousy emails from
Yeah.
some of my colleagues who got shut down, but they did congratulate me. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
Nice.
good. It was good.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So Tom, okay, so that is good news. Here's my question. Okay, and I'm glad that you guys are here. I want to. Okay, this isn't free money. This has to be paid back.
Correct.
Principal.
Principal
Okay.
has to be paid back.
Now,
Correct.
interest. Here's where I'm concerned because I've tried to do a little bit of
Sure,
homework on it.
absolutely.
Okay? My concern is since there's no stipulations put on the interest money from the government on how to spend that, they're going to give you it back,
Correct.
but you don't have to pay it back. Use that specific money from the government to pay it back.
Correct.
I'm going to be looking for somebody or whatever to recommend that when we get that money and it's earmarked for payment on interest, it has to be used for that. So we don't think that that's extra money coming in. You know what I mean? Do you follow
I
me?
think I understand what you're saying, and what
Because we would create a huge problem. I'm really good with interest-free money. I mean, you're an idiot if you don't take that, okay? Although you still got to pay it back,
right.
Yeah.
but the interest, okay? So the government has stipulations on how we use that 50 million, okay? But they don't have stipulations on how, once they give us back the interest payments, how we use that money, because we don't have to use it on the interest, and that's a concern of mine.
Well,
I'm a little bit lost. So
Okay.
they give us back the interest money,
But they're not telling you that you have to use it for the interest on that 50 million.
but
What
there
if
is no
it's
interest on
interest-free?
it.
What?
But if it's interest free,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why we're having to pay.
It's not interest free, correct? Because it's still
Yeah.
a loan. You're still,
It's a loan, right?
Yeah.
But I thought that's what it was.
They're
It was an
reimbursing the
interest-free loan.
interest.
Right.
they're going to reimburse the interest.
Reimburse
But
the interest.
if we don't take that interest and use it to pay the interest on the 50 like it's intended to,
So there's really interest, but they're giving it back to us.
Correct.
so we
So
could
we
be
need to pay
caught
the
with a
interest with
huge
that.
bill if we use that interest money for something other than paying the interest on the 50 million.
You mean like recouping our funds back, putting it back in our piggy bank?
We
type
could
of
put
thing?
it
Is
back
that
in
what
our
you're
piggy
saying?
You could put it back in your fund
I'm
balance.
really, really worried about
Well,
that.
Well, then we
I
also
want to.
create a huge deficit.
It would.
I've got a couple scenarios that,
Okay.
and Dr. Kendall and I have discussed having a committee of the whole
Okay.
in the near future, so that we can, because there's so many conversations that we need to have now.
Sure.
If and when it gets finalized tomorrow of how this whole thing is going to look. I've got some plans and ideas that I'm running by Crystal Financial right now, and so we want to talk to the board, and we'll have some things to present to the board on options for us, and then as a board, the board will determine and decide what we're going to do moving forward.
As far as projects?
First and foremost, with the structure of the bond issue.
Okay.
And then once we come to agreement on that, then secondly, we'll talk about the projects and how, and
Okay.
finalize scope of what that's going to look like.
Okay.
Okay?
Let me ask you this. Okay, so we all saw the application, right?
Yes.
And you guys had to put something down.
Correct.
And you said that was flexible, right?
Correct?
Or the government said it's
The
flexible.
state said, right, there's some flexibility in that. That's right.
So we can bring forth other ideas.
Within parameters, yes.
Okay.
Within parameters, yeah.
And we could do that as in a committee of the whole?
Yes, we will.
right?
We'll do that together as a committee of the whole.
Yeah,
Correct.
Great. Yeah, but I just wanted to bring that to everybody at the committee that I'm 1,000,000,000% good with that. Like I said, you got to take free money. It isn't free, you still got to pay it back, but interest-free money. But what we do with that interest money is important.
Absolutely. There's no question about
Yeah,
it.
good
Okay.
point.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. Yeah,
That's awesome.
no, it's, you know what? I'm excited because some of the things on that list, whether we do them or not, are things that I've envisioned for years that our kids deserve.
Mhm.
You know, that you see other districts have, and our kids walk into their facilities and go, wow, and now our kids are going to get to have an opportunity to have some of these things.
Yes.
So that's what really gets me excited. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great for our kids and it's great for our community
Yeah.
because it only improves the value of our campuses
I think they'll be more.
and our
They'll be
schools.
proud, and I even think that the faculty and staff can be more proud of the
Yeah.
environment that they're in.
Absolutely.
Which will help.
Absolutely.
Morale.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you hit it right on the head. That's right.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So,
Oh, that was great news.
yeah, no, it was exciting. It was. All right, well, that's all I have. So,
That's it.
that's it.
You're the winner this week.
Yeah, well,
man.
you got a band to go see, right?
You've got a band to go see, yes.
Every night,
It's
hasn't
been
it?
every night, yes.
Okay.
Doesn't
And then
it?
tomorrow,
How's
parent-teacher
conferences?
I have
39.
conferences
Holy cow.
too,
All
and
right.
then a dentist appointment, and they're gonna drop off scores.
Meeting
and-
adjourned
It just
6:39.
never ends, does
Never
it?
ends.